Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, BaD Company is back. We are inside the Chillicothe Sports Card Studio. This is the SOSA produced show, sponsored by the Driving Authority, Hometown Chevrolet, and Chillicothe Truck. I am your co-host, Brock Netter, alongside to my far left, which would be your guys' right, Derrick Webb, and joining us here in the middle, our guy Carson Francis. Carson, appreciate you jumping on with us, man.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. If you're tuning in, you've probably heard me on a lot of our live streams, but if this is your first time seeing me face to face, good face reveal here. But I've seen.
What is it? Good face reveal? Somebody's cocky.
I was gonna wait until he was done.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Carson.
Let him get his stuff. We here now. Let him get his stuff.
You're right. I'm sorry.
The jury's still out on that.
Okay, I got you.
But yeah, if this is your first time being able to put a name to the face, welcome. And I'm excited to see you guys all this fall at whatever games we're at. But glad to be here.
Absolutely. Carson does a great job for us.
Yep.
Calling football games, calling baseball games, calling basketball games. Him alongside Shane Combs and a litany of others. John Bruce does a great job as well. Just Kenneth Hay, got to shout him out too. Just our entire streaming team just does such a great job broadcasting the games, and that's a huge part of why we have you on tonight, because we're going to unveil our first 5 weeks of streaming football games for the 2026 football season. So, Carson.
Oh, Brock, before you do that,
okay.
We've talked about how we started SOSA on this podcast. We've talked about, just what we do at SOSA on this podcast. And we've thanked Carson and the entire stream team before. But I guess I want to continue that. And, I mean, our YouTube channel has grown exponentially.
Yeah.
And that is not possible. The production that we put on Friday night. A lot of people ask me, why don't you do 3 games each Friday night? Why don't you do, go to different locations every Friday night? And I mean, the answer is simple, because we want one location where we can put the best stream possible and put all of our effort and our talent there to make sure it's the best possible, stream for our viewers. And this guy, he's a huge part of that.
Yeah.
And like you said, John, Kenneth, Dewey Daly before them. They built it up, and then Brock and I just kind of show up and talk to the kids, right, and take the credit. But it's not our credit. It's guys like this. Like you said, Carson, a lot of people have heard your voice. They haven't put a name, or a face to your name. But Brock and I mean, and everybody, involved in SOSA, we can't tell you how much we appreciate the hard work you put in. People don't understand how hard it is to call a game on a Friday night. I think a lot of people just, think you show up and, there's football. Yeah. We're just going to call the football game. There's a lot of prep work that goes into that. So we're going to ask you about that, Carson. But Brock, you were saying we've got an announcement to make.
Yeah, the main reason that we brought Carson on is he's going to unveil the first 5 weeks of our football streams for the 2026 season. So we're gonna start week 1. Let's do this slowly.
Yeah.
So week 1, Carson, who do we got?
Well, I want to preface first by saying that this schedule is subject to change. Obviously, we've done this in the past where we make our schedule for the first couple weeks, and then I'll use last year for an example. We had a different game scheduled for our Week 5 stream.
Yep.
We get to Week 5. Valley's 4-0. Wheelersburg's 4-0. They're playing each other that week. We decided, hey, we got to pivot. Let's go to Valley and get that game covered. So if your school is not listed in these first 5 weeks worth of streams, don't panic, because we could very easily change the game plan and come to your school that week. And also, if we don't get to do that, then don't worry, because we're going to make an effort, whether it be through streaming, through writing, through photography, to make sure we can cover every school that we can. So,
and there's week 6 through 10.
Yeah, absolutely. So and there's also soccer and volleyball as well throughout the fall. So plenty of opportunities to get as many schools as we can covered. But the big reveal, week 1, we've actually got 2 games that we're going to be streaming week 1. And the first one we've had circled on our calendar since last November when it was announced that these 2 were going to be playing. But Thursday night, August 20th, week 1, Jackson at Unioto to start off high school football season here in Southeast Ohio. Big one.
Can't beat it. I mean, that's what you want. What last year was, it's been for a couple years, is Valley Portsmouth. Not last year. Last year was what, Unioto?
It was Unioto
Portsmouth.
Yeah.
And I mean, those Thursday night games I love because everybody else gets to watch.
True.
They get to sit back and think, okay, football season started. We can sit back and relax tonight, but the nerves are coming tomorrow night. The spotlight's on these guys. And Unioto and Jackson, you talk about 2 big programs that we cover. I'm excited for that one, Carson. I'm sure we'll be there in every sense, writing, video, whatever. The whole crew will be there. But yeah, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. Jackson 9-3 a season ago, undefeated FAC champs. Unioto 11-1, SEC gold ball last year. Clash of the Titans. Week 1 Thursday night, and then we transition over to Friday night of week 1, and we've got a game between 2 schools that are very familiar with each other. We are headed to Zane Trace as the Pioneers host Logan Elm on the first Friday of the high school football season.
There's been a lot of bad blood between those two. Between those 2 teams over the last 5 to 7 years or so. I know the Zane Trace, they got the better of Logan Elm last year, but I know the Braves are going to be very hungry for revenge.
Well, I would go back to, first of all, I guess I forgot to say this about Unioto and Jackson. Props to Unioto. There's so many people out there. We know who they are.
Yep.
That have said that Unioto, they don't want to go and play better competition. They don't want to make themselves better. Credit to Matt Hoops and Matt Combs and that entire administration and the football team, because they're going to make themselves better.
And I'll step in here and say, on the flip side of that, shout out to Andy Hall and shout out to Jackson for making this matchup happen. It's a home and home. They're going to play each other in Jackson next season as part of that deal, but credit to both sides for making this matchup happen. It's like I said, we've had this circled on our calendar and since the day it was announced they were going to play.
Also, not to mention with Unioto going up to Division III now, it's a huge D3 matchup. Already just right out the gates, you got some playoff points right there.
Absolutely.
Well, and I think that was Unioto's. That was the argument against Unioto is you're playing Paint Valley and you're playing Adena and you're playing these smaller Huntington. You're playing these smaller schools that don't help you in a playoff sense. Now, if you get a win against a Jackson, well, you're already a leg up on your competition because you're 1-0 going into a conference season. A couple weeks away, but you've got a win under your belt going into a conference season. Whereas we've got to win against a quality opponent of our same size. And I think that's has a lot to do with why they scheduled Jackson, maybe to shut up the haters. I mean, that's just my opinion.
And they also went and scheduled Athens for week 2.
You're exactly right.
Another Division III opponent that, regardless of how the season plays out for Athens, a lot of playoff points on the table there. And then quickly looking at that Friday night game, week 1 as well. Zane Trace 9-3 a season ago, made it to week 12. They bowed down in the playoffs to a really good Columbus Academy squad that Derrick and I got to see the next week against Nelsonville York. Logan Elm coming off a 2-8 season. They turned the tides in the head coaching ranks as well. But a lot of, from what I've heard, a lot of positive outlook on where the Logan Elm program is heading. Zane Trace, a team on the other hand, they're still going to be tough to beat, but they lost a lot of their core from a season ago. Gunnar McCullough gone, Grady Stewart gone, Jayden Higgins gone. They do return
Bryce Johnson
and Hudson Williams, their 2 anchors. So that's going to be huge for the Pioneers in this week 1 match and throughout the whole season for Zane Trace.
Well, and I think an early indicator of that game is, can you stop Bryce Johnson? And that's a lot harder than it looks. It's easier said than done, as we've the old adage goes. And if you can stop their running game, then you got a good shot. But it's Bryce Johnson.
That boy's got muscles on.
He reminds me of Corey Dillon.
In a way, I see what you mean by that.
As Bengals fans, I mean, you can agree with that, Carson. Like,
I see what you mean. I see what you mean.
And I'm not saying that because the Bengals with Corey Dillon, the rest of the team was terrible.
Yeah.
But Corey Dillon's really good. I'm not saying that the rest of St. Trace is terrible. I'm saying he runs like Corey Dillon.
Yeah.
He's not afraid of contact. He'll run over you, not around you. You're going to take a punishment if you're trying to tackle that young man. He's special.
Very true.
Our Shane Combs on multiple broadcasts last year, when talking about Bryce Johnson, he always said that kid just runs like he's mad at you. And I think that's pretty accurate.
I agree.
Very Isaiah Pacheco-ish type of run where he's just stomping at the ground.
So Unio to Jackson.
Yes.
Logan Elm, St. Trace. Yes. Week two. We'll pivot to.
Week 2 is a big one. Over at Herrnstein Field, we've got the Chillicothe Cavaliers hosting the Division 5 state runner-up from a season ago, the Wheelersburg Pirates, in a marquee non-league showdown.
I mean, that speaks for itself. You follow Unio to Jackson, Logan Elm, St. Trace with Wheelersburg and Chillicothe, and again, I think you posted a video today, actually. Carson, with the hype that's surrounding Chillicothe. Wheelersburg doesn't need hype.
No.
They're just Wheelersburg.
Yep.
They're going to come in expecting to win that game.
Yep.
Because it's Wheelersburg. And I think a lot of other people that are watching that game will expect Wheelersburg to win that game.
Possibly.
Not saying that they will. I'm just saying that in a favorite, Chillicothe's at home, they're probably going to be an underdog just because of who's on front of who's here.
True.
Right?
It's definitely a much bigger mental game than anything. It's definitely mental. The athleticism for Chillicothe will be obviously the huge difference. I agree. We know who's on that side. We know the athleticism that they possess. Wheelersburg is all about a system.
Yep.
They are going to wear you down. And everyone knows Wheelersburg. They're going to run the ball about 45 times. You'll get about 13
whether you like
passes.
it or not.
Exactly.
Right.
You'll get about 13 passes, but those 13 passes are deadly. But if Chillicothe, if they can get them out in space, that's a very, very interesting matchup.
I think it's a matchup of... So talent-wise, you probably look at Chillicothe and think this year, after what Wheelersburg lost, Chillicothe probably has more talent.
Yep.
Wheelersburg, I hate to say it, I graduated from Chillicothe, but has more tradition.
Yeah.
They played in a lot bigger games. They were in the state championship last year.
And to me, they're one of those programs. When you think of teams versus programs,
I agree. Yep.
You look at Wheelersburg and say they're a program. They don't rebuild, they reload.
You're exactly right.
And I think that's what you're going to be looking at when you look at Wheelersburg this year. They lost a boatload of talent from their state runner-up team a year ago, but I know Coach Rob Woodward is not going to be complacent with just bringing back what he's got, and the standard has been set for whoever is taking the field for Wheelersburg this season, and they're going to come ready to play. Chillicothe is going to come ready to play. There's been a lot of talk about this could be the best Chillicothe football team we've seen in a long time. They have the talent.
Since what, 09?
Yeah, roughly since 09. Yeah.
Carson Lagan was in the studio.
Let's go.
not too long ago, and they've got a lot of talented athletes around him. I look at guys like Carter Williams, Kayvon Pleasant. They got a lot of guys. Connor Rutherford on the offensive line. A lot of guys on the defensive side that are going to try and stand tall against a Wheelersburg offense that, like you guys said, they're just going to run the ball right down your throat and not even care.
Yeah.
And little side note I have with the history of Wheelersburg and Chillicothe was, if you remember back in 2017 when Wheelersburg won the state title, it seemed like they played every single playoff game at Chillicothe.
Yeah, true.
And then fast forward to the 2020 COVID season. Just a little personal story here. My first ever football game in a Chillicothe uniform was against Wheelersburg.
Okay.
And the whole talk was Wheelersburg's coming home.
They're coming home.
They're playing at.
Who won that game, Carson?
It was 31-0, not the blue and white.
The Wheelersburg was really good that year.
Wheelersburg's had. You can name just about any year and say, Wheelersburg, they were tough to beat that year.
Well, and I'll say this, and we could spend literally this entire podcast on this game because it's such a good matchup, or it is on paper. There's a freshman for Chillicothe. Brock and I were talking about this off camera.
McKinley.
Marsha McKinley. Yeah. It's a name to watch out for. Like Chillicothe needed any extra talent on the offensive side or the defensive side. But I think you're going to be calling that name a lot, Carson, over the next couple of years, and probably in this matchup as well. But you mentioned Wheelersburg, the standard. I wrote a story once. The standard is a standard. That was the lead. Yeah. The standard is a standard at Wheelersburg. And the standard in week 3 would be?
We head up to Roundtown as Circleville hosts Westfall in a Pickaway County rivalry showdown. Little SVC versus MSL action.
You saw Westfall a little bit today in a 7-on-7. Obviously, they bring their quarterback off of injury. And Westfall's just fun. They're fun. I mean, I was at this Westfall Circleville game at Westfall last year. It was just a fun game to cover. There's a lot of offense. There's fireworks. There was, they don't like each other that well. They're in Pickaway County. They're in each other's backyards. And that was an overtime ball game last year. That'll be a fun game, to be at. Have we ever streamed a football game at Circleville? A football game?
I don't think so.
I think if we did, it was before I was working for SOSA.
I want to say it was we streamed the Backyard Brawl, but it was at Logan Elm. So I don't know that we've ever been to Savings Bank Stadium. So
Hey, first time for everything.
Yeah.
But to dive into this game a little bit, Westfall bringing in their new coach, Nathan Metler.
Yep.
He spent a season as a head coach down at Gallia Academy. He was an assistant for the former head coach Logan Stepp last year, and I talked to Coach Metler earlier today over at the Chillicothe 7-on-7, and he talked about how he's continuing to build the culture, build on the foundation that Coach Stepp left behind. So I think there's a lot of promise, a lot to look forward to in this Westfall program under new leadership.
And they've got talent.
Yeah, absolutely. They showed a lot of talent in their skill positions. Like you said, they like to just go down and score a bunch of points. So that'll be a fun team to keep an eye on. But let's look at Circleville as well. Last year they won their first playoff game since 2007. Under
Brock was at that game, I believe.
Yeah, it was against Philo. What a game it was.
And then they were rewarded with playing Grady Kinsey in Indian Valley. But it's the playoffs. You play good teams.
And they were there.
And someone who's no stranger to be in those positions and playing those good teams is head coach Jay Sherry.
You're exactly right.
Head coach at Pick Central, won a couple state titles, and took over the Circleville program last year, and already huge turnaround for the Tigers. They lose, similar to Zane Trace, they lose a handful of really talented athletes from that team that brought them to Week 12 a season ago. But similar to what we talked about with Coach Woodward at Wheelersburg, Coach Sherrod at Circleville, he's not going to be satisfied with rebuilding. He's going to want to reload and keep the Circleville program where he had it last year.
Definitely a huge one that week, especially considering the momentum that they have had just throughout the off season. Some of the losses that they have. Hudson Phelan no longer there. Cole Nungesser no longer there. Some talented offensive linemen no longer there. So definitely a huge challenge. For both teams. A lot of pride on the line that game. That'll definitely be a Week 3 thriller for sure. And Week 3 takes us into Week 4, and some things are going to change in Week 4. Carson, what we got on the docket?
Week 4, we are heading back to Kinnickinnick as Zane Trace hosts.
You like your Pioneer burgers.
One could say that.
That's what it is. I got it. Anyways.
Well, but when Huntington comes to town,
I mean
that's also a pretty good reason to make a repeat trip.
I got you.
And I'll say this too, something I didn't preface before. We try, whenever we repeat teams, we usually try not to repeat teams back-to-back weeks,
right?
Unless the game is just too good to turn it, which is part of the reason why we're not doing Circleville Chillicothe Week 1,
right?
Makes sense.
But in this sense, it'll be a few more weeks into the season. We head back to Zane Trace. They'll have played, I think, Amanda Clear Creek and Waverly are their other two non-league games. Huntington, on the other hand, I said this earlier when I talked to a few of their seniors and to Coach Beeler, but I don't think expectations have ever been higher for Huntington football than they are coming into this year. This is a really talented Huntington team, Frankie Hirsch back under center at quarterback. They've got some really talented pieces surrounding him. Junior McDonald, who missed a lot of last year with injury, comes back.
And he's going to be a problem.
Carson McNeil is back at tight end and linebacker.
Jackson McNeil
will be really good. They've got some really talented young guys that maybe didn't get to play as much last year that got some reps today.
Yep.
And they're going to be hungry to get out there and show their opponents, show the SVC. Huntington football is here to stay.
And I think Huntington football is here to stay. I think they have the right leader for their program in place. We've talked to Clay on this podcast, and I told Clay this story, but he's one of the only coaches that I can sit next to him on the sideline and hear him call out plays from the other team that they happen, they unfold. He'll say sweep left, and it's a sweep left. I mean, and the kids love him.
Yeah.
They eat him up. They think this guy hung the moon. And in a football sense, this dude did hang the moon. I mean, he's that guy. They've got the right leader in charge. They've got a great assistant coaching staff. I mean, we know Seth Beeler and Alex Groh and Bill Davidson a couple years back. I mean, last year, and Sam Mitchell.
They brought in Logan Snowden, one of my former teammates.
Yeah,
coach wide receivers.
Huntington has all the right pieces in place, and they've changed their non-league schedule. By the way, by the time in this week 4 that you'll see them, they would have played better teams than they did in the first 3 weeks last year than they did. They're going to be in good position to make a playoff run. I'm really hoping. I'm not saying I'm rooting for Huntington in this game, so nobody get it twisted. But I would love to see Huntington play a playoff game in the township.
Oh,
that would be electric.
That would be, yes.
And if you've been to the township, you know how cool it is on a Friday night. A playoff game in the township would be amazing.
Wow.
And they've got a chance to do it this year. They got to beat Zane Trace, though, week 4, and worry about the conference first and then go from there. Clay would tell you, week by week, that's how they operate. And week 4, it's going to be a tough matchup because, again, they're going to have to stop Bryce Johnson.
Calling plays and ripping Mountain Dews. That's what Clay Baylor does.
Yeah, you're not lying. Yep.
I think
we figured that out, didn't we, Brock? Calling plays and ripping Mountain Dews.
Oh, my God.
Not Diet Mountain Dews.
Not Diet, no.
Mountain Dews.
That's the way to do it, to be fair.
Yeah, it is true.
But I think too, one of the things that stood out to us when we were deciding, me, John, Kenneth, Shane, when we were all deciding what game to pick for this week, I think the thing that drew us to this week 4 matchup was the fact that you look at the top of the SVC, you've got Unyoto, Zane Trace, Huntington. I think a lot of people would agree those are probably going to be your top 3 teams that would be most expected to compete for the SVC title. And this is going to be a huge game that tells us who is going to be competing for the top spot in the SVC the rest of the way, right off the bat in league play. And, if you're Zane Trace, we just talked about how, they lost a lot of their guys from last year that made them so successful. You hear that if you're Zane Trace, you're thinking, a lot of people are writing us off already.
Yeah.
This is a big opportunity to remind everybody that Zane Trace football is still going to be there and they're still going to just cause havoc for whoever stands in front of them. So big opportunity for Dylan Weirs and the Pioneers.
Teams,
big opportunity for Clay Beeler and his Huntsman program.
Well, and then you go from week 4 to week 5 because I think that's a loaded first 4 weeks.
Yeah.
You talk about conference matchups and teams that don't like each other and teams that are very familiar with each other, and then we go to where?
We go down to The Rock at Portsmouth West as the Senators play host to the Waverly Tigers in an SOC2 battle. You just talked about league teams that have had a lot of memorable matchups over the past couple years, don't really like each other, and I think Waverly and Portsmouth West fits that mold to a T. They've had some instant classics these last couple years, and I think you look at this matchup, you see, Waverly 1-9 a season ago, but that might have been one of the youngest teams that Coach Crabtree has ever had down at Waverly. Dealt with some injuries throughout the season. They bring almost, if not everybody back.
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
So they're gonna be a reloaded team ready to head down to Portsmouth West, and they have revenge on their minds.
Sure.
Portsmouth West, they're gonna look to defend their home field. The Rock is a tough place to play. It's honestly, as a broadcaster, one of my favorite places to go call a game. They have beautiful media setup.
Yep.
But the atmosphere, the environment down there is one of a kind. And should make for a great league matchup in Week 5.
The Rock is one of, like, as just a reporter, and I've never seen their media setup up top. I've never been in their press box. Just to be on their sidelines, it's one of my favorite spots to be in. It's a beautiful setting. It's a beautiful field. And Portsmouth West, you talk about a program, culture, tradition. I think it speaks for itself.
Oh, absolutely.
They're always going to be a tough out. I don't care if they're 0-9 going in and they're playing Wheelersburg. They're a threat to beat Wheelersburg, and I think Wheelersburg understands that too. We talk about rivals too, and this West Waverly matchup has really become a rival. Or kind of a rivalry over the last couple, 3 to 5 years. It's been a fun matchup to see, though.
Always is. It's always an offensive shootout.
Yeah.
And the way that Portsmouth West plays, sometimes you don't anticipate that they're going to get into those offensive shootouts.
Yeah.
Because they are a physical, grinded out type of team. Sometimes if they score 24 points, you're kind of looking at them like, offense is really clicking today.
Yeah.
Well, they had a work in, they had everything flowing. Keep in mind, West last year they went 6-6, but they made it. They made it to Week 12, Week 13 of the playoffs as well.
They went into their Week 1 playoff game against Cincinnati Summit Country Day, and that's about a 2.5-3 hour bus ride from Portsmouth down to Cincinnati. And my family lived in Cincinnati for a handful of years. I could tell you Summit Country Day, they're no easy out by any means in any sport. And Portsmouth West just went down there and handled them pretty easily. And so I think that just speaks to Coach Gilliland and his program. They're not going to back down to anybody. And they're as Derrick was saying, they're always going to be a tough out. They're always going to be tough to beat.
Yeah, they are. And now that's our first week. That's our first 5 weeks, I should say. So we've got. And I'm cheating. We've got Jackson and Unioda.
Correct.
Logan Elm at St. Trace. Wheelersburg at Chillicothe in Week 2.
Correct.
Westfall at Circleville Week 3. Huntington at St. Trace Week 4, and then Waverly at Portsmouth West in Week 5. As Carson said, subject to change. Yeah. But for right now, those are confirmed. Those will, be available on our YouTube, our website, and of course on Facebook and X and whatever else. We'll put out those links as well. That doesn't mean that those are the only games we're going to be at. Brock and I, I'm sure, will be at other games. I'm sure we'll all be at the Jackson Yoda game because it's a Thursday.
Yep.
But we'll be spread out throughout the the coverage area and do what we usually do on Friday nights. After Tuesday and Thursday nights of where we're going to be watching volleyball and speaking of volleyball, this Wednesday, kind of like volleyball starts for us, and we're going to be at the Root Sports and Fitness Center. We're switching gears here to volleyball. We've got a pretty cool event planned. That not by our doing, but to cover the event. And Carson, I'll let you go through that. Starts early, ends late, and that's our type of volleyball.
Yeah. So at the Root down in Gallipolis, if you've watched any of our streams, you've probably heard of them. They have some ads that they run on our streams. If you're watching a game, you've seen them on our scorebug at times. But they have a Summer Volleyball Tournament Series this Wednesday, starting at 9 a.m. goes till. Heck, I think
9 p.m.
Yeah.
Probably
my bedtime.
Probably
it goes to my bedtime.
It's your bedtime.
That's what it is.
But that huge facility down there is going to host a boatload of volleyball games. Plenty of talented teams around Southeast Ohio, around the state of Ohio. Some teams from West Virginia going to cross the river. And come play some volleyball as well. And there's hours of pool play involved, and then about 3 o'clock in the afternoon we go to the knockout round. But I think this pool in particular could be the headliner in and of itself. We've got a pool featuring Adena, Gallia Academy, Bloom Carroll, Meadowbrook.
Yeah,
that's a gauntlet right there.
Yeah, I mean, well, you talk about teams that want to get better, right? And we non-league games during the season, whatever, I get it. But during the summer, is where people really don't see the work. You play say you're Adina, and you play Meadowbrook, Bloom Carroll, and Gallia Academy this season, in the summer, you're going to get better.
Yeah.
I don't care if you want to or not, you're getting better. And take any of those teams and then throw the other 3, and it's the same thing. So, Carson, I'm a lover of volleyball. That's probably one of my favorite sports to cover. I just like the fast-paced action.
Yeah.
You talk about fast-paced action. That day, I don't care what court you're on.
Yeah. It's
going to be fast-paced action. We didn't mention the other teams.
Oh yeah, there's
so many talented teams in this event, and we will be covering the bracket play on the main court there.
Yes.
I believe in the Marshall court at the Root, and then that also includes the I would assume the semifinals and championship games as well. So there's what other teams are there?
Yeah, so I don't have the entire list of teams in front of me, but I know we've got Chillicothe is going to be there, Unioto is going to be there, Southeastern will be there, Waverly.
Yep.
I believe
Pay Valley.
Pay Valley, is
and I'm talking about in our coverage area, obviously.
Colgrove will be there.
Yeah.
I believe is Logan Elm.
Yes,
Logan Elm
they'll
will
be there. Yep.
Yes. Logan is making the trip down.
So there's plenty of teams.
If I'm blanking on any other teams from our coverage area, I might be, but off the top of my head, I think that's about as many.
And I know
as
that,
I can think of.
even the teams that aren't in our coverage area technically are very good.
Yeah.
That are going to be there as well. Robert Pugh does a great job there, and he's put together a great event. He asked us if we come down. We're like, yeah. We'll come down for that.
Sure.
Absolutely. There's, we can pull content out of that, but more so, I think it's a great, precursor to the actual start of volleyball season, because people around our I think of Ohio don't really understand how good volleyball is in southeastern Ohio.
Yeah.
And we've got a couple teams this year that could really make a deep run.
They got some really
and a couple of teams are in that event.
Yeah.
So we're excited for it. You and Shane will have the live call?
Yeah, I'm excited to head down there, call some volleyball with Shane. Shane loves him some good volleyball.
Yeah.
He's been Mr. Volleyball for us ever since we've been streaming volleyball here at SOSA. So I'm excited. I know Shane's excited. It's going to be a great day down in Gallipolis, and we're just going to see some good action all day.
Well, Brock, I will say this. I figured out during this podcast why Carson announces games and we don't.
Well, there's a multitude of reasons for that.
Well, he's got the voice.
Well, that's very true.
That's
very true.
I don't know. Do we not? We weren't blessed with that. We weren't blessed with that voice.
We
were blessed with the looks.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
I was. I don't know about you.
Okay, all right. Well, we're getting deep in here.
Hey,
goodness.
sometimes I got to pump my own self up. Sometimes.
No, that's fair.
Everybody has to at some point.
Last podcast, we asked for dates for Brock. Hashtag. We should start a hashtag, Carson.
That was two.
Well, that's right. I wasn't on the last one.
Why am I doubling down on this?
You said how good you looked. Okay. So hashtag dates for Brock.
That was. If this becomes a trending topic on Twitter,
I would love that.
I'm gonna lose my mind.
I would absolutely love that. That would be amazing.
Gosh.
Hashtag dates for Brock.
You really
BrockNetter@gmail.com.
Brock.
Right in the camera again. Let's go. So anyways, this has been Bad Company presented. But no, Carson, for real, we appreciate you being here. We appreciate everything you do for the stream team, for the site. When Carson's not calling games, he's writing for the site. I told you before, I think you're just as good as a writer as you are a broadcaster, and that's rare to find these days. So we appreciate you. We appreciate the team. We appreciate John, Kenneth, Dewey before them, and just really everybody that Shane Combs, of course. I keep saying John, Dewey, Shane, Kenneth, or no, I keep saying John, Dewey, Carson, Kenneth.
We always leave out somebody.
I always leave out Shane, and Shane's such a huge part of what we do, and we appreciate him as well, and he's probably the most knowledgeable of anybody, of any of those four. Yeah. And just such a good dude. You want to meet a better dude.
And something I even said on air that just kind of speaks volumes to how much we appreciate having Shane around to do our broadcasts and to do Overtime presented by Perfection One as well. But I was just saying, we could name literally any game in our coverage area, whether if it's a football game where both teams are 9-0 or both teams are 0-9.
Yeah.
name. We could say we're going to game X, Y, and Z, and he'll be like, "Let's go."
Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And well, I think so. Way back when I was working at the Chillicothe Gazette, one of the first coaches I met was Shane, and Shane's one of those coaches. When you interview him, you learn. And I've said this to you before, Brock, because there's multiple. There's you have to be a certain level of coach, for me to say this about, and it's true. Laura Smith, you talked about a dean of volleyball, is one of those. When I talked to Shane about baseball, and I was a baseball player, I learned more about baseball. That's how special Shane is. He kept teaching me about the game that I played since I was 3. Yeah. And he brings that to every sport that we broadcast, and he's a special talent, and we sure do appreciate him. And but we appreciate all of you guys. Brock, I don't want to speak for you, but I'm sure that you agree with that. And
100%.
You're an essential part of what we do at SOSA. We're not. We always say, well, we're not you, or we're not us without you guys.
Yeah.
We're not us without you guys.
Facts. We can't do what we do without you guys.
Right.
That's the big thing. We
couldn't broadcast.
That's very true.
So I have no idea.
We have.
People are like, how do you set this up? I'm like, I don't know. Ask Carson.
Pretty much. I mean, we at SOSA, we've been able to go to a brand new level because of you guys. I know that me and Derrick, we laid the foundation just by being co-founders and starting it, but you guys have been able to elevate this into something that we really never thought it would ever become.
This was not the plan.
No, this was not
we
the
love
plan
it
at
that
all.
we're here, but it was not the plan.
It was not the plan.
COVID helped, and then you guys just took it over.
Yeah.
Very true, yeah.
So
yeah, it's been We've been doing this for a long time, even before we started SOSA. This is now year 8 going into SOSA, and you guys have just been such a godsend. You've been such a blessing for us, for the entire company, and we really couldn't thank you guys enough for everything that you do. No matter how big or how small it is, you guys just face everything head on, and I mean, I hope you know that we are so thankful and so grateful for you guys as well.
And I'll say one last thing. I know there's multiple broadcast options on every Friday, or volleyball, or whatever. And I get it, and I respect those other outlets that do that. I would put our product up against any of those, and really any in Ohio, not just in our area, and say, let's go head to head because we've got the best guys. And we've got the best quality, and that's because of the call and because of the camera work that we do, and I'd feel very confident in saying that.
100%, man. Yeah. Hope you know that we appreciate you.
Yeah,
well, I appreciate that, and I'm sure myself and all the guys on our stream team, we appreciate you guys and anybody else that's helped us out.
Yeah,
all of our sponsors.
I mean, really.
And it's been really awesome, and excited to get another season started.
Hey, we can't wait. It's less than a month away. So the journey is about to begin again. But until then, there's still about 4.5 weeks of summer left. So we still got a little bit of time.
Yeah. He's still got time for dates.
That's not
hashtag dates for Brock.
Oh my goodness.
Anyways, take us out, Brock.
All right. Well,
not to dinner. Just take us out.
I surely wasn't doing that tonight. But anyway, once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of BaD Company. I am Brock Netter. That is Derrick Webb. This is Carson Francis. Once again, we appreciate you coming on. A huge shout out to all of our sponsors, The Driving Authority, Hometown Chevrolet, and Chillicothe Truck. We will see you guys next time on the next episode of BaD Company.